Hello everybody, I'm Dr. Somali Gupta, Faculty of English, Government VYT PG Autonomous College Durg, and today this is the second part of Madame Bovary that I'm going to deal with, and in this section I'm going to talk about the characters that play an important role in the story of Madame Bovary. Now, a little bit about the novel. It's just a revision of what we have already done in the first video. So, Madame Bovary was first published as a book in 1857. It is a cornerstone of the realism movement, and Flaubert was a prime mover of the realist school in French literature. It is also the first novel written by Gustave Flaubert. It was initially published as a series in La Revue de Paris in 1856. Originally written in French, it has been translated in English by various people. The major characters at a glance: Emma Bovary, the protagonist, a young girl with a head full of romantic notions, borrowed from romantic novels which she was so fond of reading. Charles Bovary, Emma's husband, an honest but dull and boring doctor who was madly in love with his wife, Emma. Rodolphe, the rich landlord of Yonville, Emma's first lover. Leon, the young clerk at a law firm, Emma's second lover. Liu Hu, the manipulative moneylender. Senior Madame Bovary, Charles's mother, who had high aspirations for her son. Monsieur Homais, the local self-serving pharmacist and Charles Bovary's, actually I would say, so-called friend. The novel actually begins with the story of Charles Bovary, a 15-year-old boy bullied by his classmates. So, as you can see, the novel does not open with the life of Emma Bovary. Although the novel is named Madame Bovary, it opens with the life of Charles Bovary. And Charles Bovary, at the age of 15, has gone to the school for the first time, and he is being bullied by his classmates. He has a round, unthinking face, clumsy, and does not show any intelligence in the class. He is very hardworking and focused. He has an extremely dominating mother whose life centers around Charles. Flaubert writes, in her life's isolation, she centered on the child's head all her shattered, broken little vanities. She dreamed of high station. She already saw him tall, handsome, clever, settled as an engineer or in the law. So these were his mother's dreams about him, about Charles Bovary. As a youth of even temperament, who played in playtime, worked in school hours, was attentive in class, slept well in the dormitory, and ate well in the refectory, Charles did not show any kind of promise of being anything extraordinary. He was just a routine boy. Now let us see how he was growing up. So Charles, while he was in school, by dint of hard work, he always kept about the middle of the class. Once, he even got a certificate in natural history. But at the end of his third year, his parents withdrew him from the school to make him study medicine, convinced that he could take his degree by himself. But in the medical school, he understood nothing at all and gradually started losing interest in his studies. He grew thin and spent more time in other pursuits. Eventually, as expected, he failed in his examination. But his mother's ambition was to see her son as a doctor, and hence Charles had to cram through his exams again and pass. Now that he was a doctor, he settled his practice in a small town called Tost. On his mother's insistence, he also got married to Madame Eloise Dubé, who was a rich widow, quite ugly and older to him. But to his mother, it was more important to ensure that her son was financially well settled. In order to understand what kind of life Charles Bovary led after his marriage, his first marriage, I've taken up two portions from the novel, two sections from the novel, which Flaubert has written, as to how Eloise Dubic was as Madame Bovary, married to Charles Bovary. And that will give you an idea as to what kind of life Charles led after his first marriage. So Flaubert writes, Charles had seen in marriage the advent of an easier life, thinking he would be more free to do as he liked with himself and his money. Now, because he had married a rich woman, he thought that he can now spend his money the way he wanted. But his wife was master. He had to say this and not say this in company, to fast every Friday, dress as she liked, harass at her bidding those patients who did not pay. She opened his letter, watched his comings and goings, listened to the partition wall when women came to consult him in his surgery. She must have her chocolate every morning, attentions without end. She constantly complained of her nerves, her chest, her liver. The noise of footsteps made her ill. When people left her, solitude became hideous to her. If they came back, it was doubtless to see her die. When Charles returned in the evening, she stretched forth two long, thin arms from beneath the sheets, put them round his neck, and having made him sit down on the edge of the bed, began to talk to him of her troubles. He was neglecting her. He loved another. She had been warned she would be unhappy, and she ended by asking him for a dose of medicine and a little more love. So, this is how Flaubert has described the life that Charles had after he married Eloise. Constantly nagging, constantly complaining, Charles did not have a happily married life. And after this, he meets Emma when he goes to treat her father in a village. So Charles was a pampered boy in his childhood, overfed and spoiled by his doting and possessive mother and a disinterested father. He was sent to school when he was 15 and performed like a mediocre boy who worked very hard. But then he became the victim of parental aspirations and was put in a medical school, and soon that started telling on his health and academics. But somehow he managed to become a health officer and set up his practice in Toast. It was his mother who decided that he must marry a rich widow so that his future remains financially secure. But his married life was far from happy, as she constantly complained and he always withdrew. So this is how Charles's married life was when he met Emma, who was young, beautiful and vivacious and seemed to have fallen in love with him. It was no wonder that he fell head over heels in love with her. He married Emma soon after his first wife died, much against his mother's wishes. Throughout his life, Charles Bovary remained dedicated to his wife because for him she could do no wrong. He came to know of her infidelity only after Emma died, through the love letter she had written to Rodolphe and Leon. There's always been a lot of debate around why Charles never suspected his wife or why did he not say anything to her. But if we understand his upbringing and the way he was treated by his mother and first wife, probably we will understand what kind of a person Charles Bovary was. So here is a very simple diagram of the three women who influenced Charles's life. First his mother, then his first wife, and then finally Emma. All the three women have been. So with all these three women that Charles had in his life, he felt subjugated. He never felt powerful. He never felt in control. They controlled him. They exerted immense control over him and he could never stand up to them. His little daughter Bertie was his only solace. Charles's biggest virtue was that he was an honest and completely dedicated to the women in his life. He was also very trusting and never once suspected that Monsieur Homais was not a true friend and doesn't wish him well. His complete passive stance towards life left his wife Emma frustrated and lonely in her marriage. That he died heartbroken and penniless is perhaps the most heart-wrenching thing that happens in this novel. But because, on the whole novel, he had never taken one step to harm anybody. Emma Bovary, the protagonist. Emma Bovary is beautiful and bored, trapped in her marriage to a mediocre doctor, and stifled by the banality of provincial life. An ardent devourer of sentimental novels, she longs for passion and seeks escape in fantasies of high romance, in voracious spending, and eventually in adultery. Emma, when she gets bored with her life, starts to pursue her dreams of passion and excitement at any cost. In pursuit of passionate love and luxurious positions, Emma engages not in one but two extramarital affairs. Emma's character is juxtaposed against her surroundings. She is larger than life, vibrant, who has more life and passion to live life king size than the men in her life. Charles finds Emma's imaginative nature slightly overwhelming, mysterious, and highly alluring. In this slide, I have tried to show the various men who affected Emma Bovary's life. Now, the first person who was there in Emma Bovary's life was her father. Her father was a very ordinary peasant farmer who lived in a village, had lost his wife, and thought a world about his daughter. He was very fond of his daughter, loved his daughter very much. But he did not have much of an impact in Emma Bovary's life. Charles, on the other hand, was completely besotted, completely loved his wife to no end. He thought that his wife could do no wrong. The two characters, Rodolphe and Leon, if you look at these two characters, they are the ones who exploited Emma, because of whom the villain, actually the money lender, started lending Emma money so that she could overspend. He was lending money at very high rates. Ume. Ume pretended to be Charles's friend, but he was a pharmacist and he thought that if Charles doesn't do well, then there is a chance for him to become a local doctor, although he was not a certified practitioner. Emma was objectified by every man she met, starting with Charles, then Rodolphe, Leon, Justin, even the notary from whom she sought help at the end. Emma's power in her relationships too was essentially sexual. But even her affairs that were sexual brought her disappointment and failed to live up to her romantic expectations. In the end, when she desperately tried to find someone to get her out of debt, out of facing public shame, no one came to help her, not even her lovers. Her only option was to use sex to raise money. This realization broke her completely and she decided to end her life. Her mistakes not only brought about her ruin, in the process caused harm to innocent people around her. Rodolphe Boulange. He is Emma's first lover. He is a wealthy landowner with an estate near Yonville. Rodolphe is shrewd, selfish, and manipulative. And as I have said earlier also, that he is a cad. He has scores of lovers and believes Emma to be no more sincere than any one of them. He plans to seduce Emma with strategic precision and begins an affair with her. He then abandons her when he becomes bored of her romantic fancies and emotional demands. When Emma demands that they run away, he sends her an apology letter with a box of apricots. He doesn't help Emma in the end when she goes to him for money. Leon Dupuy, a clerk at the law firm, Leon falls in love with Emma when he meets her in Yonville. They share love for literature and he teaches her to appreciate poetry. But when Emma realizes that he is in love with her, she withdraws, and a heartbroken Leon loves for Paris for further studies. Their chance meeting in Rouen sparks off their passion once again, and Emma and Leon start a torrid affair. Emma spends heavily on her dresses and gifts for Leon. She becomes so indiscreet that she travels to Rouen often and becomes the gossip for the town. But soon they get tired of each other. When Liu demands his payment of the money he lent Emma, she goes to him for help, but he refuses. He doesn't fancy Emma anymore and is glad to have her out of his way. He emerges as an opportunist, shallow person who uses Emma and her money as long as it suits him. Liu is a character who actually epitomizes the villain characters in older novels. So he is a shrewd and a ruthless businessman. He continues to encourage Emma to spend so that he can lend her more money at a very steep interest rate. He is almost a psychopathic character and he seemed to enjoy Emma's suffering. He had absolutely no guilt when he drove her to death. Monsieur Umeng. Umeng seems like an insignificant character in the beginning. He is full of himself and talks too much. He is shown as a typical representative of the French middle class. He is a pharmacist who practices medicine without a license. He befriends Charles but is actually jealous of him. He is indifferent to people suffering and actually encourages Charles to do a difficult operation so that when the patient dies, Charles's career as a doctor is doomed and he can take over. Eloise. Eloise is Charles's first wife, older to him and quite ugly. She was a widow whom Charles married because of her money and on the insistence of his mother. She is a complaining, dissatisfied wife. She complains about everything and is suspicious of everybody. She is extremely jealous of any female patient who comes to Charles. She realizes that Charles is enamored with Emma. Soon after having this realization, she dies from shock of having all her property stolen by her lawyer. So, once again, we will run over the themes very quickly that we have found in this novel, Madame Bovary. So, the central theme, as you can see, is that of desire and unrealistic expectations. That is what actually makes everybody suffer so much. The characters who turn the novel towards the climax and the tragic end are driven by desire and expectation. Some people, as I said earlier, also see it as a quest for true love. It is also about middle class dreams. One can see the influence of the romantic movement. It also shows the conflicts between dreams and reality, especially the dreams that Emma had and the reality that she faced. Same goes for Charles Bovary. There were certain dreams that he had, he thought his life is going to be, but the reality became something else. And this book is also seen as a critic of the French bourgeois. Now we are going to look at Madame Bovary as a tragedy. We are going to look at the whole structure, the whole novel at a glance. So when we read a tragedy or we witness a tragedy, there is a desperate need to blame somebody. Most of the readers blame Emma for her suffering because she thought that her romantic fantasies could be real. They also blame her for Charles's death and for Bertie's misfortune. In novels like Madame Bovary, where the identification with the heroine is very strong amongst women, it was very strong then and it is even very strong now, it is difficult to see Emma suffer and take her own life. So some readers blame her husband Charles for not only being so boring and dull, but also for having no clue of his wife's need in life. A critic once said that the characters are real and there is no scope for them to do anything other than what they did. Flaubert exposed the dullness of the middle class people without making his novel dull. Now let us understand how Madame Bovary is also a criticism of the bourgeois society. So Flaubert had a lot of contempt for the French bourgeois. He uses Emma's contempt to reflect his own dislike for them. He depicted the life of 19th century women in the bourgeois society where the circumstances determined the position of women. So Emma is not to be blamed for her death. Her failure is not completely her own. Flaubert suggests at times that her dissatisfaction with the bourgeois society she lived was justified. Emma's plight was emblematic of the difficulties of any sensitive person trapped among the French bourgeoisie. Emma emerges larger than a life character. She is portrayed as larger than the circumstances she was in. Flaubert goes to great lengths to describe the village where Emma was born and brought up, the small town Toast and Yonville, to depict how ill-fitted she was in those places. She was bored with her life, found Charles's table manners boorish and her neighbors boring. She was unable to accept this reality she was in and tried to find her escape in adultery and deception, which was morally wrong. At the time when Flaubert was writing, the word bourgeois referred to the middle class in France. So now we are talking about the French bourgeois. They were people who lacked the independent wealth and ancestry of the nobility, but whose professions did not require them to perform physical labor to earn their living. Their tastes were characterized as gaudily materialistic. They indulged themselves as their means allowed, but without discrimination. The mediocrity of the bourgeoisie was frustrating to Flaubert, and he used Emma Bovary's disgust with her class as a way of conveying his own hatred for the middle class. Madame Bovary shows how ridiculous, stifling, and potentially harmful the attitudes and trappings of the bourgeoisie can be. In the pharmacist Ume's long winding know-it-all speeches, Flaubert mocks the bourgeois class's pretensions to knowledge and learning and its faith in the power of technologies that it doesn't completely understand. So without understanding, these people would try to show and act as if they knew everything and they understood everything. So there was a lot of show and pretension that was happening in the middle class society in those days. And Flaubert was disgusted with this kind of show off. Now we will conclude the whole story, the whole novel, and we will look at the novel in its entirety. So when we study Madame Bovary as a realist novel, we understand that each character is born and brought up in a certain way, be it Emma Bovary, be it Charles Bovary, be it even the others. Both Emma and Charles were sufferers, but by being the way they were, that was the only ending that could have been there for either or both of them, and that was suffering and death. Emma's flaw was her inability to be practical, to see life as it actually is, and understand the difference between fantasy and reality. Charles's biggest flaw was his complete trust on his wife, which in a way was also to hide his own incompetency and inability to satisfy her. He too shied away from the reality and refused to see Emma as she really was. And now for the important questions that are asked from Madame Bovary. So the first and the most important question that is asked as a long question is how is Madame Bovary a tragedy, or what is the tragedy of Madame Bovary? Now, in the last few slides, I have spoken about that. Students, just read that. And also, while you are answering, please do add a little bit of summary of the whole summary to it, of the whole story. The next question is the themes of Madame Bovary. For that also, I have put up a different slide. And there are many sub-themes. Actually, if the main theme of the story is disillusionment, or a conflict between desire and reality, and fantasy and reality, you will find that all the other themes are also equally valid. They also exist. So you must look at Madame Bovary from all those thematic stances also. And now for the characters, I have put up very short notes on the characters, other than, of course, Emma's and Charles's character, which are slightly lengthier. The other characters are usually asked in short notes. So in short notes, even if you write that much, it's going to be okay. If you want to lengthen your answer, then you must write the kind of role they have played in the story. So maybe 3 or 4 lines, or maybe 5 lines more, you might add from the storyline as to how they played their role in the novel. And that, I think, should be sufficient for you. Now, with this, I'll end my second video also on Madame Bovary. I'm wishing you all the best for your exams. Stay well, stay safe, and thank you very much. And just as an afternote, I will add that if there are any other questions that you have, this is going to be put up as a YouTube link. So you can always go to the link and put your questions there. I'll try my level best to bring up another video to answer all your questions. Thank you.